The thing about influence is everybody's looking for more of it. We all have it, but we'd all like to have the ability to be able to move more people to action, more of the people we bump into to do more of the things that we would like them to. Whether it's buy your product, whether it's move in a new direction, adopt a new idea, in some way we're all looking to influence other people. And when it comes to influence, we have a tool, a skill, an ability to be able to move people to action more easily than others. And I've learned through training over 2 million people that quite often the difference between those that win and those that do just fine is that winners know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count.
If you do not ask, you don't get, right? We know that to be true. If you do not ask, you do not get. Your success will be in direct correlation to the number of times you ask for the things that you want in life. Let me repeat that. Your success will be in direct correlation to the number of times you ask for the things that you want in life. Yet what often happens when we find ourselves in our clinics is instead of asking for things, what do we do instead? We wish, we hope, we pray, or we wait for things. Nothing happens unless you make it happen. Yet we're so fearful sometimes of making stuff happen. We're so fearful of putting things into practice that what happens is that we think standing still and that people are going to come find us. People are scared of being salespeople. Nobody wants to be a salespeople. Are salespeople born or made? What does a 3-year-old do when they want something? Firstly, they ask, right? How many times do they ask? As often as it takes. And if that doesn't work, what do? They do whatever it takes to get what they wish for. All the selling is asking politely. Trouble is that we knew this as kids. We knew this at 2, 3, 4, 5. And to stop us from knowing this, adults started to tell lies to children. Started to tell lies, things like, it's rude to ask. Things like, I want doesn't get. And these programs continue to run in us as adults. We feel fearful of being able to ask for things. I mean, who in this room said, when I grow up, what I'd love to do is to work in sales? See, the laugh tells me everything I need to know here. Woo! Have some fun with me for a second. Throw some adjectives at me, some describing words that would describe a stereotypical salesperson. Pushy. Aggressive. You mean a liar? See, the picture you see in your mind's eye right now, or if those words were used to describe you, that's what somebody saw in you, how would it make you feel? Ugh. No thank you, right? We're not interested in that one bit. What if I change a word, though, and instead of asking you to describe a stereotypical salesperson, I ask you to give me words that would describe a professional salesperson? Caring. So we're now caring. Interested. Genuine. Decisive. Educated. Researcher. Sincerity. If somebody saw that picture in you, somebody used those words to describe you, how do you feel right now? Why is it that I can change one word and you can change them all? See, what I believe to be true is it isn't salespeople that are the problem. It might be your perception of what a salesperson is that's the true problem. When is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say? See, it's when you're saying it, right? That is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say, is in the very moment that you are saying it. How many of our conversations, the ones that we have with patients, are bordering on repetitive? Yet what we find ourselves with is we have block templates for the letters that we send. We have block templates for the mailers that we send. We have block templates to be able to respond quickly when somebody gives us a certain kind of inquiry. Yet for the words that leave our mouths, sometimes we choose to make it up as we go along. I'm going to give you an example of which, something that talks primarily to your industry and only to your industry. There is a question that I know is being asked of every single one of your clinics, somewhere like every single day. Question that comes in, it's one of the primary responses that comes in, one of the most common phone calls that comes into your practice is the question, How much does it cost, or how much are hearing aids? It's funny that I knew that to be true. So we know that a question is going to come. We know the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment when you're saying it. Question comes in, how much are hearing aids? Who wants to tell me what their response is? Go, young lady. How much are hearing aids?
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about them.
Oh. So we're fearful of the fact that people in this industry might not be honest. We're fearful that people that dispense hearing aids might be evasive. Patient asks a very honest and direct question, says, how much are hearing aids? And here's what we say back in the other direction, a version of, it depends. You realize that in many ways we are setting ourselves up to be everything they're fearful we might be? We create that. Now, I've picked here on Deborah. I could have picked on anybody on the room, and we'd had a version of the similar kind of response. Anybody got a different response to it depends to the question, how much are hearing aids? Priceless. Linda says priceless. Now we sound like a cheesy slogan. Come on, we're professional with integrity, with a medical-based model. We care about people. Patient is asking a very reasonable question, yes? How long does it take somebody to build up the courage to ask that question? How long? 7 years is what research tells us. 7 years for somebody to build up the courage to say, how much are hearing aids? And we say a version of, I'm not telling you. Maybe we could help ourselves a little bit more. Does anybody else want to play this game with me? Figured as much. There are only 3 reasons that somebody would be asking you the question, how much are hearing aids? Only 3 reasons. First reason. What do we think? They're shopping around in some way. They want to see how you compare versus somebody else. Now, if they're not shopping around, what could another reason be?
They don't know what else to ask.
They have no idea what else to ask. See, if you are in a shopping area, Deborah, and you see a blouse or a jacket or a pair of pants that you quite like, and you pick them up and you say, how much is this? What are you really saying?
Do I want to do business with you?
You're saying, I like this one. This one will look great on me, I think. Right? But in some way, you're fearful of being embarrassed. That's a potential issue, right? If you can't see the price on it, you don't want to take it to the checkout thinking this is going to look stunning on me. And for them to give you a number where you're like, ooh, that could be embarrassing, right? If you walked into a jewelry store, saw something you quite like the look of, and there was no price on it, and to get to the price, what you had to do was to get through the locked door, pushing the doorbell, hoping the other person would open, what might you do some of the occasions? See, you don't go in to be able to try the ring on, try the bracelet on, try the necklace on, for fear of being embarrassed, it being too much money. So fear of being embarrassed is one reason somebody's asking that question. I mean, we say, many of us, that we do a free hearing evaluation. What do we believe about the things that are free?
Worthless. No value.
No value. Where's the catch? Where's the catch? There must be a catch. They might hoodwink me into buying some of those expensive hearing aids. I don't want to go for that because that could be uncomfortable. So we're uncomfortable with free. Third reason why somebody might be asking how much a hearing aids is, they're a competitor. Somebody else that's checking out your prices versus their prices to see where they sit in the marketplace. See, when somebody asks the question, how much are hearing aids, and you say either it depends or there's a range, does anybody give a range? Yes. What's the range that you give? $1,500 to $3,500. $1,500 to $3,500. But we're fearful of the fact that we might be liars. What's the primary price that you charge a patient that buys a pair of hearing aids?
That's probably closer to $4,000.
Closer to $4,000. So we set our stall out to say they're between $1,500 and $3,500, and then we sell them a set of $4,000. And we're fearful that they might think we're liars. Each?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine going into a shoe shop. Love these. Love these. How much? They're $150 each. I mean, come on. See, we set ourselves up to fail sometimes when we answer these questions that way round. The only person we help when we give a range is who? The competitor. They're the only one that can decipher your code. Everybody else is like, that helped me nothing. See, if you were evasive at that first call and on the receiving end of somebody who was evasive on that first call, what might you do as a potential patient? Hang up, go somewhere else, or that's given me good reason to put this off for another 17 years. We got to learn how to be able to be better. The person who's in control of every conversation is who? It's the person that is asking the questions. So patient says to you, how much are hearing aids? Is it an answer we need or a question? Question. See, you could think of your own question, or I can give you one that might just change your business overnight, something that if you share it with your team, as early as Monday morning, you'll drive more people into your practice. Do you want to make up your own question, or do you want my one? See, patient says, how much are hearing aids? Here is your response, the exact words to say back. Which hearing aids would you like to buy? I'll let that sit for a second. What do you think they say? I don't know. Do you know what we say to that? Neither do we. What have we just established? There is a need here for a consultation. We're not telling them to have a consultation. We're establishing that there is a need for a consultation. So instantly they realize that it needs to come back in. Do we sound like we're selling hearing aids? See, if they had seen a pair of hearing aids down the street and we say, which hearing aids would you like to buy? Do you think they might tell us? Oh, I've seen these guys down the street and what they've got is. And we wanted to see how you compare. Are we better to know that before they arrive? What happens if they're a competitor? Click. Right? We're back in control. Yet what we still might need to do is to set up their experience in a way, giving them a chance. We're fearful they might be embarrassed. I did some surveys out to patients in that window of opportunity. You know, after they've agreed to come on a test and before they've arrived, you know that window, that really vulnerable window? And I asked them a series of questions. One of the questions they asked me back blew my mind. Question they asked me back is, will it hurt? Will it hurt? If people are thinking that I'm going to meet somebody who's going to deceive me into buying hearing aids that are going to work about a third as well as I hope they would, costing significantly more than I'm prepared to pay, and the experience might be painful, do you think they might want to show up? See, here might be a greatest difference. What we need to do is to make this patient feel comfortable. We need to give them some confidence that this is going to be worth coming. We might need to give them a range. What is the most that you're aware of that anybody has paid for hearing aids? Let me rephrase the question. What is the most that you've been aware of that anybody has paid to fix their hearing loss? Do we know at this point in time that hearing aids are the solution? They might need surgical care. They might need a bone conducting device. They might need something completely different. This could run into tens of thousands of dollars. Yes or yes? Could do. What is the least that you're aware of? Right? I wonder how many of you in this room, though, have had a patient come in that was at no expense to themselves, no out-of-pocket expense to themselves, and you found out that the only issue was wax buildup, or that they had something happening up here. What did you charge them for that? Do you know it's not wax buildup at this point? We don't know. Let's give them a fair and honest range. Well, let me explain to you this. Sometimes people find they have a hearing loss that goes into some form of surgical or medical care that could run into tens of thousands of dollars, often covered by your insurance. But many patients come in and see us and through a comprehensive evaluation realize it's nothing more than wax buildup. What I do know, though, is that Deborah's available on Thursday. Deborah's our lead audiologist. She's fantastic, and patients adore her. She'll take you through a comprehensive testing process, answer all your questions, make some confident recommendations, and from there you can decide what you want to do best. I say she's available on Wednesday, she's available on Thursday too. Which one of those 2 days suits you best? Do we see what we might get more appointments now? With a different level of expectation. You want to blow people's brains? Create an experience that has them better than the toilet paper? Here's what you now do. As the providers in this room, when the patient has booked the appointment and is yet to come, I would like you, as providers, to phone them up. What difference would it make if you made a 90-second phone call, said, hi, it's Dr. Jones, I see you on the schedule tomorrow, and it's your first hearing test that you've had in a while. Just thought I'd introduce myself, say hi. Realize if you had any questions ahead of time. If not, What I do is I look forward to meeting you on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Don't worry, it's not going to hurt. What would that call do? Whew, confidence. Who else in a medical setting calls their patients before they turn up? If you want to be seen as different to your competition, behave and act in different ways. It's the easiest simple thing that you can put into your process that will blow your patient's brain, have them feeling more confident, mean that your close rate and first appointment will significantly increase because the meeting before the meeting means that we've created rapport. Does that make sense, yes or yes? So I've identified to you that words might matter. There's a little thing up on screen here. It's a book I wrote. I'm pretty pedantic about word choices. Down to the fact that I've learned that sometimes the difference between you and people like you has nothing to do with your skill, your work, your prices, your endeavor. But in fact, the difference between your success and other people's success could be down to as little as knowing exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. So pedantic about these things, I did write this little book. It's a little book that I'm proud of. I'm so proud of it for so many reasons. But one of the biggest reasons I'm proud of it is because it's a genuine bestseller. Like a genuine bestseller, sold over 50,000 copies, translated into multiple languages. And speaking of Harry Potter, my little book outsold 50 Shades of Grey and J.K. Rowling. For a whole day on Kindle. Yet we enjoy celebrating our successes in this world. What it is a book of word choices that talk straight to your subconscious brain. Subconscious brain is powerful in the decision-making process is because it only has a yes and a no, no, maybe. What happens if what you can do is destroy all the patients that are currently sat in maybe and get them to make their mind up? Could that lead to more success in your business if we can stop patients saying maybe? And us having the ability to be able to talk to people's subconscious means that we can get them to make decisions more effortlessly. If you're thinking about what your subconscious brain is, you might want an example of where it served you. Do you remember last night when your head hit the pillow, you didn't need to remember to breathe in and breathe out, that way you don't die? Subconscious brain was taking care of things for you. Or the familiar car ride. Do you remember getting in the morning and then arriving at the destination but not having any idea how you got there? Subconscious brain took the drive. Still confused about subconscious brain? Well, really, it's nothing more than the little voice inside your head. And if any of you are sat there right now thinking that you haven't got a little voice inside your head, then it's the little voice telling you haven't got a little voice. We all have one. We've got to learn to talk to other people's. When I talk to people about the world of sales, often one of the things that they say that prevents them from asking for the things they would want in life is that they are, what do we think? What stops people asking? Fear. Fearful of rejection. Fear is a funny word, right? Crazy funny word. And I see corporate trainers get up and get flip charts and they're out. I'm going to make an acronym out of fear. False evidence appearing real. That's what fear often gets called as. Do you know what I see in this industry that's kind of different? I see a version of F everything and run. That's what happens, you see. As an industry, we're being asked to change. Our patients, we're asking them to be able to change. But do people like change? People hate change. Let me prove it to you for a second. Guys, fold your arms for me. No, not that way, the other way. Ah, this is freaking weird. Like being hugged by a stranger. So knowing that people don't like change, I figured I could play with some words that you could use to get people to maybe be a touch more open to the idea of something you might want to present to them. I've learned a completely rejection-free formula that you can introduce just about anything to just about anybody at any period of time. See, I've learned that if you say to somebody, I'm not sure if it's for you, their little voice kicks in. See, firstly, when you say to somebody, I'm not sure if it's for you, they go, I'll be the judge of that. They also, in their subconscious, think, what is it? Curiosity kicks in. See, we can have people far more interested in the things that we would like if we say the words, I'm not sure if it's for you. Three-letter word, though, is all the power. The three-letter word in but. I mean, what happens when you say to somebody, you're a valuable member of the team, we love everything you do here, we know you're trying your best, but. What do we think of? We think about everything that follows the but. The word but negates everything that came prior to it. See, in this instance, when I say I'm not sure if it's for you, but, What the subconscious brain hears is you probably want to look at this. Hey, I'm not sure if it's for you, but have you tried our latest in technology in Link 3D? What's that all about? Well, being as you've asked, I should probably tell you. Can we see huge application for what we can do is introduce ideas to other people effortlessly with the right words? Show of hands in this room, who's open-minded? I mean, what's the alternative? It's not even closed-minded, is it? The alternative is idiot. See, by understanding that the majority of people like to see themselves as open-minded, you can take an opportunity that currently would have been 50-50, turn it to 90-10 in your favor by asking an open-minded preface question. How open-minded would you be to working with a professional medical provider that really cares as opposed to buying hearing aids from a big box retailer? How open-minded would you be to that? Try and say no. How open-minded would you be to running with this new accessory for a couple of weeks to see what difference it makes to you in busy, crowded environments? How open-minded would you be to asking 3 of your family and friends just a really simple question, a question like, when was the last time you had your hearing tested? See, us introducing ideas to other people with the softening preface, how open-minded would you be, can change how easily you can plant seeds that germinate into business. What difference would it make if every member of your team was asking how open-minded questions to your patients? I mean, how open-minded are you to at least trying it? Words matter. But everything I'm sharing with you today, everything we're talking about on words, comes from a real understanding of understanding this simple word. A word massively overused in the world of business is the word motivation, yet still very few people understand what it really means. The word splits. First part of the word comes from the Latin word motivus. Modern day translation for the word motivus is motive. The Asian part of the word derives from the word that we now know as action. If somebody had a motive, what would be another word for a motive? They had a reason, right? And if somebody's to take action, they're going to do something or move. Would it be fair to say that if the reason was big enough, you could get just about anybody to do just about anything if the reason was big enough? This means yes. Shake, I know what that one means too. See, we have to find people's reasons to move. Yet we know that our patients don't like change. We're going to say to change. What is it that gets people to move? Do people move to become more comfortable? Some of the people, some of the time. Do people move when they're uncomfortable? Quick test for us. See this set of doors over here at the back where we step out to? They don't step out into the lobby. They don't step out towards the beach. In fact, behind that set of doors there is nothing. Just a sheer drop towards the floor. We're not on the ground level, we're 150 stories high. Tallest building in the world. It's okay though, because adjacent to this building, 150 yards away, is another building with an equally kind of splendid set of doors. Attached to our building is a steel braided wire that is 1.25 inches thick, perfectly fixed at our building, stretched out tight, perfectly fixed across the way. I mean, it's 150 yards, it's 150 stories high, it's a little humid out there, and the rope is a little bouncy in the middle. I'm wondering, though, when we break, who just for fun would like to walk the tightrope with me? I figured as much. Okay, let's make you more comfortable. What if I give you $10? $100. What if I give you $100? $1,000? $10,000? Anybody up for it right now? $10,000? $100,000. $1 million. I mean, $1 million would make many of you more comfortable, yes? Yet still, for the majority of people, doesn't matter how much more comfortable I would make you, you still do not want to do a thing that could make you significantly more comfortable because you don't want to do the thing it would take to get you there. What if by alternative it's getting crikey warm in here? I mean, so warm that flames are licking at your face and smoke's filling up your lungs. And the only way out is through those doors, across that tightrope, and to the other building safe on the other side. Who wants out right now? Only everybody. I don't know a better way of explaining to you that only some of the people will move to become more comfortable. Yet everybody will move when they're fearful of being uncomfortable. In the world of hearing aids, do people make decisions based on logic or emotion? We know it's emotion, right? It's kind of a trick question because both are true. What is the primary reason we use to get people to make a decision that hearing aids are a good idea? The results of test or the audiogram, right? Logic or emotion? Pure logic. We back that up, though, because we say we're going to take some emotive questioning technique. So we ask some questions that provide emotive reasons. We go back through case history. We find situations they found it difficult to hear. And we think, let's plaster in some emotion. What was the end result from everything in their case history where they found it difficult to hear? What was the outcome to the patient? They were mildly uncomfortable, where the end result often was they were fine. How many of you have some form of minor ailment, like a dodgy knee, sore back, stiff neck, any form of minor ailment that you've just learned to live with? Just about everybody. See, people have spent years reinforcing the fact that they're just fine. Let me prove this a second too. Any of you ever come home from work slightly tired, maybe a bit worn out, slightly uncomfortable, perhaps even wearing the exact thing that you wore to work on that day? Feeling slightly uncomfortable, you plonk yourself down on your couch. Sit something like this. Anyone familiar with this position? And as you sat there still with your bag alongside you, wearing your suit, wearing everything you wore on that day, shoes still on, you start to think to yourself, you know what? If I go upstairs and put sweatpants on, man, I'd be so much more comfortable. I would. I know I would. Yeah, that'd be good. And if I lie this way, and lay out properly, man, that would be a game changer. But you know what? This is fine. How many of your patients are fine as they are? Most of them. And we've got to get ourselves into a position where we help them realize that they might not be as fine as they thought they were. What we need to do sometimes is to break something before we can fix it. We have to help them see that they have a reason worth moving for. We need to create not just logical reasons or historic emotive reasons why people need to fix their hearing. We need to create something that hasn't happened yet and use that as the reason to fix their hearing. How many of your patients are looking forward to something? Most of them, right? A vacation, a birth of a new child in the family, some form of big trip, some form of wedding, huge celebration. There is something going on that they're looking forward to. Do we think we can get them to tell us about that? 2 more magic words that you can use for huge influence. As kids, we could get people to open their mind's eye really simply by saying, once upon a time. Do you know every decision that anybody has ever made has been made at least twice? At least twice. Have you ever found yourself saying the words to yourself? I can't see myself doing that. It's quite a literal thing. If you cannot see yourself doing something, the chance of you doing that thing remains slim to none. The reverse of which must be true then. If you can get somebody to see themselves doing something before you ask them to do it, the chance of them doing the thing becomes significantly higher. Now we can do this, we can insert images into people's minds, we can say once upon a time to a 5-year-old, we can't do it to an adult. But we can say the words, just imagine. Just imagine 6 months on from now, you're enjoying the family wedding, and finally you feel confident to be around your friend, family, and loved ones. Just imagine that was true. Boom, teleport, done. Just imagine 6 months on from now and you still fail to treat your hearing loss and you miss some of the key moments at the family wedding because you're finding it difficult to hear. Just imagine that were true. Which one of those two is more powerful? The towards or the away? What happens if you create contrast between the two? Do people make decisions based on logic or emotion? We learned earlier on the trick question was both. But some of the biggest decisions in our lives are made through the power of emotion. I'll prove it to you guys for a second. Who in this room is married or been married? Day you asked the question or had the question asked of you, is it because the person you were looking at met your multi-point inspection checklist? Or did it just feel right at the time? See, something has to feel right first. Our job with our patients is to make it feel right before we ever make it make sense. We're great at the make sense argument, but it's got to feel right first. We make decisions based on feelings, and we can create future-facing feelings. Feelings that haven't happened yet, by teleporting people in feeling rather than just vision. A conditional future feeling is created by the preface of the words, how would you feel if? How would you feel if your confidence would grow, you could comfortably leave the house, and you could start to do some of the things that you used to love? How would you feel if you missed some of the key moments when your new grandchild was born? Because in all the noise that you got confused that you had to leave the room. How would you feel if for once your wife wasn't shouting at you to turn the television down? See, what happens is when I ask her, how would you feel if, you cannot help but go to that motion, go to that place and start to experience a fraction of the feeling. You don't get the whole thing, you get a small dose, but the dose will help you. Does this make sense, yes or yes? Worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment in which you're saying it. You'll also notice that everything that I'm sharing with you today is largely a question. There's something that will never go out of fashion. It was true in the past, it's true today, and it was true in the future. Questions create conversations. Conversations build relationships. Relationships create opportunities, and opportunities lead to sales. Questions create conversations. Conversations build relationships. Relationships create opportunities. Opportunities lead to sales. Where does this all start? Questions. Yet quite often we ask questions for the wrong reasons. We ask questions for what we want to talk about as opposed to what we want to hear. Let me pick on a new volunteer. This young lady here gave me $10 so I can pay your debt a little later. Your name was?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Elizabeth, tell me about the last place you went on your vacations.
To New Orleans 2 weeks ago.
New Orleans. New Orleans is great. I was there just a few weeks back for a big event for a company called Hilton. I don't know if you've heard of Hilton. They're a fairly big group. And I do a lot of business that means I get to travel, but New Orleans is one of the favorite places I've ever been. And the reason I get to travel is because I'm a professional speaker. I've been to speak in so many places all around the world. I've worked in 56 countries, trained over 2 million people, 5 continents. I'm freaking awesome. How often does that happen in conversation? We ask somebody a question, we receive their answer, and then we proceed to tell them our version of their answer, thinking we are showing interest in them. Elizabeth, how did you feel when I was showing off?
Out of the loop.
Yeah, like, screw this guy, right? Whoop. Can we try again?
Sure.
Elizabeth, tell me about the last place you went on your vacation.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Cool. When was that?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. What took you there?
35th wedding anniversary
Oh, awesome. And that was for you guys or for someone else?
for us.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
What made you pick New Orleans?
It's a city I always wanted to go to.
Okay. I don't know it at all well. Is there any must-see, must-do, must kind of attract things while I'm there?
The World War II Museum.
Wow. What made that so cool?
I wasn't anticipating the experience, but it is a very good museum.
Gotcha. See, this is Elizabeth and I surrounded by 100-plus people in a really awkward staged environment. If this was us at the bar, do you think she'd tell me even more?
Yes.
Did I learn more even in this forced environment? Yes. How many questions did I prepare? Just the one. Where did my next questions come from? Her answers, which meant I had to do what? Listen is a crazy interesting word. Let's take a look at it. Look, it's got an L, an I, an S, a T, an E, and an N. Coincidence? It's got an L, an I, an S, a T, an E, and an N. Of course it's a coincidence. Does make a good point though, right? Quite often that's what listening is. See, the only way I could learn more about Elizabeth is from listening to what Elizabeth said. That means that I have to decide that the most important person in this conversation is not me, you. In fact, we get some of our greatest lessons in the world from movies. Anybody seen the movie Shrek? In the movie Shrek, Shrek says, ogres are like onions. They have layers. People are the same too. We've got to get good at peeling back those layers. It's easy to say that we care. It's harder to show that we care. I could read every one of your websites right now and you'll tell me you pride yourself on your customer service. Do you do that on Thursday afternoons at 2? Like, when does that play out? But we have chances to show that we care when we're actually understanding that we are not even in the hearing care business or the connecting business. We're in the people business. The day we forget that, we lose sight of what we're about. Questions create conversations. Conversations lead to relationships. Relationships create opportunities. Opportunities lead to sales. That we need to keep at the forefront of our mind. Yet there is a point in time when we have to get good at talking about the thing we're asking somebody to buy. And I'm going to say this loud and clear right now. Please stop selling hearing aids. I mean, let's have a little piece of logic to this. We have 2 microchips in plastic housings with tubes coming out of them with domes on the end, and we want $7,000, $8,000 for 2 microchips in plastic housings with tubes coming out of them. Can we win that argument in 2018? When at the same period of time we can get like an aluminium housing with a liquid crystal display that has the processing power to be able to send a rocket to the moon for $700. If you want to win the Indy 500, there are 2 things that you need. One is a great car, and the second is a great driver. We have to wake up and realize who gets paid the most in that transaction, the guy that fixes the car or the guy that drives the car. You guys are the racing car drivers. Stop standing behind the product and start standing in front of the product, and life starts to change. Patients aren't experienced wearers of hearing aids. They don't understand how important you are to that transaction. If I have the word price written in my right hand and the word value written in my left hand, and price comes out ahead of value, which one looks bigger? But if the value comes out ahead of the price, which one looks bigger right now? I hear some people when they get to the point of talking about your product or service, they say these are the best in the line and these are really, really good ones and they're going to do great things for you and I mean, how much would you like to spend? And then I hear some people say that what we provide here is different to most. We provide a comprehensive level of care alongside our hearing devices. That means that not only do you get the best available in technology in class right now, what else you get is a lifetime of service. It means year 1 that we do this, year 2 that we do this, year 3 that we do that, year 4 that we do this. And alongside that, if this happens or that happens or this happens or the other happens, and that's all taken care of for you with no further out-of-pocket expense. You've got a warranty, a guarantee, loss and damage, and we do all of that for you for just $6,996. Which one sounds better? If you are not convinced, you cannot convince. If you do not believe with absolute certainty, and all of your people believe with absolute certainty, that the money you're asking from your patient is worth it and some, please don't expect them to believe it. So sometimes the first sale that needs to happen here is on you guys. And I promise you, it's really hard to sell hearing aids for $7,000. But 5 years worth of care, 4 years worth of care, 3 years worth of repeat visits with a high-quality audiologist, with somebody learning how to drive that racing car, the experiences you can give your patients back, what you can truly go on to be able to achieve for them, then the money you're asking for is worth it.
So we had an opportunity to take a look at certain speakers and determine whether or not we wanted to go a direction that was more around how to engage an audience or how to be able to focus on developing your team. But what we loved about Phil was it really appealed to the art of communication. And when you think about communication, it's in everything that we do, in business, in life, in our practices, and the people that we serve. Communication is key, and Phil really represented that to the best of what we saw from anyone else.
What's awesome about Phil is that he's remarkably blunt, but also really likable. I don't know if that's the accent or if it's what he's saying, but it really works. The other thing is that he speaks in the language of his audience, which is pretty unique when you have a guest speaker come in. He actually seems to really understand and know the language and know the industry and really connect with the people in the audience, which is pretty incredible and a lot more impactful.
I think Phil was spot on in everything he said. I've already read the book that he handed out on the things to say, and in our organization, as you can tell, it's a relationship sale. So we work with individuals as practice owners, teams, and being careful of the language you use and really the order of which the language you use, asking questions instead of blanketing people with statements. It's all foundational with our processes for our members. Specific to me and our team in new market development, we're talking to practices that aren't working with us. So trust is low. You need to ask a lot of questions and understand what's in it for them and where does their story fit into our story. So
Phil's presentation today was really remarkable. It was engaging. It was really relatable. I found that the audience was taking bits and pieces of things that they can take back to their practices to really make a difference.
I think one of the key takeaways that we'll take away from Phil's presentation today is that you shouldn't be afraid of having a script if it's your script. It is authentic if it's something that you would say and that you document and then you practice versus something that somebody else is telling you to say. So there's actually a lot of power in practicing what you want to say with a script so that you can be more impactful in your communications.
He's a dynamic guy, and you can't help but be magnetized to that. You can't help but to be excited with all the things he says. I mean, he said some very disruptive things in that room, and you didn't get negative feedback. You got, oh.
He did a remarkable job, connecting with the audience and really understanding, what their needs are and what they do on a daily basis and how he can support them.
Impactful, very relevant, full of energy.
At first, when he came out, I thought, oh, he's just another pretty face, and he knocked it out of the park.
He mentioned that it's about doing the basics to a high standard consistently, and I love that. That's what we preach every day. It's about doing the basics really well, and you'll win. And he did a great job of sharing that with our audience.
I've had fortunate pleasure to see a lot of speakers over my time, and I have to say Phil by far is one of the most dynamic presenters that I've ever seen. His ability to engage the audience, his ability to really relate the content to their daily lives was exactly what we needed from a keynote speaker today. And I can tell you that everyone is going to leave this event with a few golden nuggets of opportunity that they took away from Phil's presentation that will last for hopefully years to come in their offices and with their teams.